What's up, guys? Welcome back to part 3. As you can see, and you saw in the last part, we got it out. Now we can tear this part down, separate the transmission from the motor, and replace the timing chains, replace the clutch, put it all back together, and get this thing back on the road. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to do stage 2 as soon as I want to anymore, for some unfortunate reasons. Let's just say it. So, that is why I am here on a Tuesday at 10 o'clock in the morning working on this vehicle. So, let's get it done. This alternator needs to come off so you can get the front cover off because it's bolted to it. There's two 13 millimeters that go through the front cover, through the front of the motor. Might as well just get those off now because that's what I've got on here. You don't need. And then I can take this motor mount off, take this off, take this balancer off, and then I can remove the valve cover and remove the front cover, and we can get to the timing chain stuff. And I don't know if you guys can really see it, but there's quite a bit of an oil leak on this puppy. I think we're going to solve that problem when we redo all the seals with the timing covers. Quick note, these two are long, this one's short. Make sure not to mix those up. Make sure they go back in the right positions. All right, now as you guys can see, I've got everything but this one tube here going down to the turbo. You can get that off with a little fuel line most of the time. And other than that, we're pretty much disconnected. We can take the valve cover off. We can take that front cover off. Just a bunch of 10s around the outside, and we can pop this cover off and get to the timing. As you can see here, the way this motor works, this is actually a timing chain tensioner on the outside of the... This is actually a timing chain tensioner on the outside of the block. And there's another guide bolt right here that you have to take this plug out for. Here is that 13 millimeters position that I was telling you guys about. Just pop that out really quick. Otherwise, if you don't and you forget it, it'll be the only bolt holding your front cover on, and you're gonna get really mad and you're not gonna know what's going on until you eventually find out that there's a hidden bolt right in the center for some reason. Fuel line tool down in there. I raised this line off of the turbo, so now When I pull this valve cover off, the whole thing will come off and I won't have to interfere with this. Let's get this motor open. Got the valve cover off. Got the front cover off. Oh. Got the front cover off. And as you can see, I got a guide that was broken, fell apart. I actually started wearing right here on this bolt. So I guess it's a good thing that we're attending to this. I'm not 100% certain, but it sure doesn't look like that is lined up anymore. So yeah. Oh, and then here's that too. Definitely not supposed to be like that. Got new VVT solenoids, got new gaskets, got new everything. Let's get to it. Got the timing chain components off other than this crank gear right here because that stays, and the balance chain components are still there as well because I need to check my parts and see and make sure I got them. Got the VVT gears off, we got the solenoids out and all that dirt cleaned up that was all around there. Got the tensioner out. What that does is that bolt goes through there and it pushes tension on the chain. It actually pushes tension on a guide so that it's not directly on the chain, and then keeps it so that the chain is tight. My chain was no longer tight, as you guys saw, so it wasn't really working anymore. So yeah, that's why we're replacing them. And good timing, because if any longer it might have broke and then I would need a new motor, because it would bend everything inside of it. So, with that being said, let's look at our parts. Let's look what we've got and see where we need to start. See if we need to take these balance chains off, the balance chain off, and then replace the components of it, or see if we do not have that and replace just the timing chain components. But knowing me, I most likely got the balance chain as well because I know how these motors work, and it's a good idea to do both. Wow, would you look at that? First time ever I was organized in my life. Look at this. 2008 HHR clutch, timing chains, and balance chains. It's perfect. That being said, let's take this balance chain off really quick. Well guys, I put in this balance chain and I realized that my camera was not even set up, so I'm not going to take it back apart and just to show you guys, but balance chain set up. You just got to make sure you get your timing marks right. You got a mark here, and a mark here on this balance shaft, and a mark here on this balance shaft. This first mark that I pointed out was on the crankshaft, so that it all flows with the crank, right? One thing I would like to add about these guides here, they're grooved for the chain to ride in. You got to make sure your chain is in that groove properly, or this whole job is just useless. you're doing this for nothing if you don't do that correctly. Make sure that you get this in there properly before you pull the pin. Otherwise, it's going to be a real pain in the butt to try and push that tensioner back in and figure out other problems. All right, up close and personal, as you guys can see here, the balance chains are in place. All the guides are in, and the chains are in their grooves. Chains are in the groove. Chains in the groove. Timing, the tensioner is also in its groove. You can't really see that too much, but it's in there, ready to go. Everything's tight, as you can see. Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3. Actually, you start with this one, and then you go down to this one, and then you go around the water pump and line up that one. Yep. And now that that's all set, everything's tight, all the bolts are tight, boop, we can pull the tensioner. And now this is tight. So we can get this timing chain done. We can seal this puppy back up, and then we can move on to the transmission, where we can attend to our clutch that is no longer. Alright guys, timing chain is in, guide, and I had to use the old tensioner because for some reason this new one I've got has no, so it's supposed to have tension on that, and I don't know if it needs oil pressure or what, but I don't trust it, and GM service information says that I can reuse the tensioner, so I did. And the best way to put these tensioners in is actually to release them and push in a little bit and just screw them in. So now it's already tensioned on the chain, and you just got to tighten that down and it's good to go. I got to tighten these two bolts right here, this one and this one. I think a lot of part 3 is going to be a lot of time lapse, but I think it's just because I'm trying to go fast. Trying not to be super informative because I'm also trying to get this car on the road by the end of the day now. So, I'm going to set you guys back up, but I'm going to explain really quick what I am going to do for this quick time lapse that you guys are about to see. So, around here, obviously all that dirt, oil, and gunk and grime. We're going to be cleaning all that crap up, cleaning all the oil up inside of there, along top of that needs to be cleaned, and we need to be cleaning this valve cover face, as well as these valve cover faces, because that is part of the seal as well. And then we got to clean that area a little bit better for the VVT solenoids. Other than that, should be golden. Seal this puppy back up. All the front accessories are back on and complete, including the AC compressor that we took off beforehand. Valve cover is back on, all the lines, coil packs, ready to go. new boost control valve. Everything's ready. I gotta tighten this up, and that should be it, but I might take it back off, so we're gonna leave it loose for now. Gotta put the serpentine belt back on. Should be ready to go. Now I can move on to the transmission. So now what I gotta do is, because this is also the motor mount here, in a way, I need to support the motor, and then I can remove this mount and the one in the back, and then I can unbolt the transmission and slide it right on out. Well, I did a lot of the work off camera, but because I'm trying to get this thing done fast now, unfortunately, but yep, I got the front transmission mount off. The rear transmission mount is kind of off. Got the bracket for it off, and we should be able to get the transmission out. So now that we can get the transmission out, we got one more bolt, and then we should be able to pull it out. But unfortunately, I don't really have any way to get this thing out without moving a bunch of crap, and so I'm just gonna grab it, manpower this thing. Why not? But as you guys can see here, that's my one bolt I gotta take out. The rest of them are all out down here as well. This is how I had to support this, with that and this jack here, because it wanted to lean back when I took this one off, so I had to put that there. And in order to take both of them off, I had to support the front or the back side of the motor, because otherwise it would have just tipped down and this whole thing would have laid on the cradle. It would completely defeated the purpose of what I'm trying to do, is take the transmission out. I wouldn't have been able to do it, you know what I mean? So gotta support, gotta give yourself room, and then you're free to do what you need to do. Get this transmission out, and then I can replace the clutch and slide this transmission back in. All right, back at you again with another terrible view. That might hurt. Okay. Aha! Support here in case it falls. And zip this puppy out slowly in case we need to go back in. Looks like we're gonna be all good. Set this guy aside. Got them all on the cart that you guys are actually sitting on right now, but I'm busy. Hey, you know something funny? You're supposed to take the axle out. Back to what we were doing with the trans, huh? Let's try and see if we can't get this thing out. Seems like it's super light. Oh, there it goes. Transmission's out. Now I just gotta get it off the stand without tipping this motor over. put another piece of wood under the oil pan. So now it's 100% solid again. We can give this thing a shake. She's good to go. Cradles a little bit. Actually, cradle is good to go again too. That was not touching. But I took the rear transmission mount out, and apparently it dropped it down. And that's also why we left that jack stand there. Good call. Now that I think about it, there's not a single mount holding this motor on this cradle. It's just floating above it right now. Here, let me show you. Sitting on wood on this side. And a jack stand on this side. Makes sense. That could probably be more centered, but as we know, it was leaning more toward the back. It was leaning more toward that way, so that was pretty centered for what we had. Now it's not so centered, but eventually it will be again. I went back to the instructions and I looked how to take off this pressure plate because I am not 100% certain. This is the first time I've actually done it. I mean, I get the concept and I get the idea, but I want to make sure I do it right because I don't need this thing not being aligned or giving me problems or having improper clearance within side of the transmission or clutch assembly. So we don't need any of that. So we're just making sure we do it right. So for starters, what we need to do, each one of these bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All 6 of those need to come out one turn at a time until the spring pressure is off. Put you guys on the old leg tripod, you know what I mean? Bump, 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 bump. Let's see if this works. All right. Here's my clutch that no longer exists. Yeah, there ain't nothing left on it. Getting down to the old rivets. Yikes. Makes sense as to why it took a shit on the way here then, huh? Look at this. This thing's rubbing on the old rivets. That's how you know it was pretty bad. Let's check this side out. What do we got? Rivet rubbage. Rivet rubbage. Oh, that's a good example. Not the best lighting here, but let's get these T30s out. Not strip them. Boy, I have to go 2 hands. Small problem we're facing here. One of the T30s to get the pilot bearing out has stripped. Probably my doing with the one-handed deal on the old. Yeah, but we're gonna get it out eventually. Taking a break though. Another problem I'm facing here. I'm supposed to resurface this I'm not necessarily sure how I'm gonna do that without a resurfacing machine or really anything, because I'm in my granddad's barn. I don't have that type of tool. At this rate, I'm kind of thinking Scotch-Brite pad and just get at it with the old hand. I'm thinking that might be the best route, but I'm not sure. Guys, clutches are dirty. I didn't record the transmission reinstallation or the clutch reinstallation, but we're back in. Put the mounts back on, and then we can slide this thing back up into the car. New used knuckles are in. New used control arms are in. Everything should fit properly. Got to throw the starter back in, and then we can drop the car the rest of the way down. Bleeding the clutch right now, and then gonna start it up, clean out the motor with some engine cleaner that I've got, and then this thing should be back on the road. There it is, you guys, complete. She's running good, smooth, no engine lights. Very happy with it. Complete product, back in her. She drives good, runs good. She's I've had it for about a week now, and it's doing pretty good. Can't complain. Hopefully nothing shows up bad. I mean, so far so good. Thank you guys for coming to these HHR videos. I hope you enjoyed every single one of them. I had fun making them. Kind of upset that it got cut short, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Things happen, and you gotta live with it. So, thank you guys again, and we'll see you guys in the next video. We're gonna be working on a Ford.